الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على النبي الكريم وبعد. Continuing our sessions of Al-Aqeedatul-Waasitiyah. And as I told some of the brothers, as we draw nearer and nearer to the closure of this booklet, we come to realize even more that this booklet is a masterpiece on its own. It's a work that shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him success in writing it. It was well written. It composed majority, if not all, of the elements of Aqeedatul-Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And this only increases the virtue of the author. His works testify to his virtues. Shaykh Al-Islām Ibn Taymiyyah, Rahimahullah. Although there comes people years after, or even a short time, saying that whoever labels Ibn Taymiyyah Shaykh Islam, then he's indeed a disbeliever. He's a kafir. So some of the scholars, they wrote a whole volume. I believe the title is called Al-Raddul-Wafir, a sufficient refutation, and clarifying who from the scholars praised Shaykh Al-Islām Ibn Taymiyyah with this title, that he's deserving the title of Shaykh Islam. He mentioned approximately 85 scholars who referred to Ibn Taymiyyah as Shaykh Islam. And he wasn't the first. It's not something strange. There's scholars prior to Ibn Taymiyyah, from the Tabi'een. Ata ibn Abi Rabah, he was referred to as Shaykh Islam by Imam Zahabi. There were scholars that came a little bit after. They said you can approximately count 28 if you want to be quick on your hand and say these are named by the scholars as Shaykh Islam. So it means someone that was well-rounded and complete in the sciences of Islam, and he served the Muslims with his knowledge. That's the meaning of Shaykh Islam. It doesn't mean that we're fanatics to Ibn Taymiyyah by referring to him as Shaykh Islam. So this is something that needs to be mentioned, because doubts are being spread concerning this topic. So today we're going to allow the brother to do a lot of reading, inshallah, because as we mentioned, we're trying to seek the conclusion of this booklet. Here Ibn Taymiyyah, he's going to conclude. After we took the main parts and the main discussions of this booklet, he's going to conclude now. He's going to conclude and wrap up with a few of the topics that we already spoke about. فليتفضل.
فصل وقد دخل فيما ذكرناه من الإيمان بالله الإيمان بما أخبر الله به في كتابه وتواتر عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Section included in what we mentioned about faith in Allah is the faith in what Allah informs about in His book and what is tawatur from His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and agreed upon by the Salaf of this ummah, that He, glorious is He, is above His heavens, over His throne, high above His creation. He, glorious is He, is with them wherever they are. He knows what they do.
Okay, this is going to repeat the discussion of our belief concerning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all above, that He's above everything, and He's over His creation, established over His throne. We use that wording, established over His throne, because it comes from the meaning of istawa. So we affirm this, and this does not negate that what comes after that affirms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also near. And the ayah that was recited, if we look at every ayah, or majority of the ayats that speak concerning this topic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being near His servants, you find that it's in the context with His knowledge. Because the brother recited the ayah, هو الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في ستة أيام ثم استوى على العرش. It is He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, then rose over the throne. What does it say after that? يَعْلَمُ مَا يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. While he has risen over his throne, he has knowledge of what enters the earth and what comes out from it. And how does the context of the ayah end? وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. And he is with you wherever you are. So yes, we say, and as the ayah is mentioned, he's over his throne at the same time. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. This is from the greatest proofs to show that Allah is high yet near. And there's no contradiction between the two. High in his essence, in his status, in his attributes over his creation, at the same time near with his knowledge and his attributes of his capability. No contradiction. And we're going to see how Shaykh Al-Islām Ibn Taymiyyah gives a parable example that we are familiar with.
وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير إن الله مع الذين اتقوا. And he is with you in knowledge wherever you may be, and Allah sees what you do. Truly Allah is with those who have taqwa and those who are muhsinun, the good doers. Allah said, fear not, verily I am with you, both hearing and seeing. Surely Allah is with us.
Allah to read it to us.
Just as he combined between that in his statement, it is who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and then rose istawa, the throne. He knows what goes into the earth and what comes forth from it, and what descends from the heaven and what ascends thereto. And he is with you in knowledge wherever you may be, and Allah sees what you do. It is who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and then rose over the throne. He knows what goes into the earth and what comes forth from it, and what descends from the heaven and what ascends thereto. And he is with you in knowledge wherever you may be, and Allah sees what you do. The meaning of his statement, and he is with you, is not that he mixes with the creation, because the Arabic language does not necessitate this. It is contrary to what is agreed upon by the Salaf of the Ummah, and contrary to the fitrah and that Allah created the creation upon. Rather, the moon is an ayah among the ayat of Allah, among the smallest of his creatures. It is stationed in the heaven, yet it is with the traveler, and the traveler wherever he is.
So this topic that we affirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above is affirmed by the text, affirmed by the sound intellect, affirmed by the fitrah, the natural disposition of the human being. The innate nature of the human is that he inclines to his Lord being above. No one grows up saying that Allah is everywhere. If you look at that, even the children of some of these sects that say that Allah is everywhere, if you were to ask their children, where's Allah, they'll say above. And perhaps he'll hit his child. Why do you say that? So no one grows up saying that Allah is everywhere, unless maybe a rare incident, but the majority state is the fitrah shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. And with that, the consensus of the ummah, the consensus of the Salaf al-Salih, the early generations, meaning that nothing has been reported to contradict the ayat, what's apparent from the text, that Allah is above his throne. And if they were to understand these ayats differently from what's apparent, they would have reported it. So we take the apparent text, and in fact we say there's narrations, one after another, saying that they have come to meet the early ones, saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above his throne, separated from his creation. So an example that was striking is even a physical example that we can relate to. With all that, he adds an example that a person can relate to in real life. With the moon. If this is the moon and it's in the sky and above, and at the same time we say it's with us, when we find its brightness, its light, so with greater preference, the creator of the moon. So this is something to pay attention to. We have a lot to do today.
He, glorious is he, is above his throne, observing his creation, muhayminun, which is ar-raqib ala kulli shay, the one who watches over all things, over them, watching over them. And other than that, of meanings of rububiyyah, each of these statements which Allah mentions that he is above his throne and that he is with us is true in its reality. It does not need any distortion, but it is guarded against belying thoughts, such as thinking that the apparent meaning of his statement in the heavens is that the heaven carries him or overshadows him. This is false according to the consensus of the people of knowledge and faith. For indeed Allah, His kursi extends over the throne, extends over the heavens and the earth. He is the one who grasps the heavens and the earth lest they move away from their places. He withholds the heaven from falling on the earth except by His leave, His permission. And among His signs is that the heaven and the earth stand by His command.
Also we have from the names of Allah that affirm for us that He is above. Who can mention some of the names of Allah that affirm that? Al-A'la. Sabbih isma rabbika al-A'la. Okay. What else? Al-Muta'al. MashaAllah. And another name? In the end of Ayatul Kursi? End of Ayatul Kursi. Huh? Al-Ali. Al-Aliyu. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Ali. Al-Sahib Al-Ulu. The one possessor of highness. Tayyib also. So we have how many names now? Al-Muta'al, Al-Ali, Al-A'la. Those ones, huh? Zahir also, mashallah. Allah barak. So we have 4 names from the names of Allah that indicate His highness over His creation. And with that, we come when we find people and try to distort and alter and say we have a different interpretation for all 4 names. Shows you how hawa, desire, it has no boundaries once it takes over a companion, takes over a person. And even then when we speak in the language, we'll say is so-and-so with his wife. It doesn't literally mean he's in the same place, touching and physically, but it means they're together. So it's found in the English language, found in a number of languages. Why is it so complicated to understand when it comes to the Quran? It is not the heart, it's not the eyes that is blind, but it is the heart that blinds from within, it becomes blind from within, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned.
And then the author, may Allah have mercy upon him, clarified that and said, but it is guarded against belying thoughts, such as thinking that the apparent meaning of...
I was wondering why he's reading an explanation. Just up to the line.
Section included in that is the belief that he is near His creation and responds. As he combined between that and his statement, and when my slaves ask you concerning me, the answer to them is, I am indeed near. I respond to the invocations of the supplicant when he calls on me, and his statement, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the one who you are calling upon is closer to you than the neck of his riding camel. And what is mentioned in the book and the sunnah regarding his nearness and his ma'iyah is not negated by what is mentioned about his ulu and his fawqiyah. For He, glorious is He, nothing is like unto Him in all of His descriptions. He is exalted in His nearness, He is near in His exaltedness.
So once again emphasizing that we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is high yet near, and there's no contradiction between the two. For verily the ayat that use that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qareeb, that He's near, it is mentioned along with either a name such as His hearing, that Allah is all hearing, innahu sami'un qareeb, it is He, the all hearer, and the one that is near. Also qareebun mujib, that He is qareeb, near at the one who answers the invocations. So you find that. And also in the context that the ayah that was recited, that if my servants ask regarding me, then tell them I am qareeb, ujibu da'wat. Here it's in the context of answering the invocation of the caller. So all of that, all these ayat or these wordings that come that Allah is near is restricted to an attribute of His hearing, His seeing, His knowledge, His capability. So we restrict it as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restricted it. And don't try to expanded by saying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not above His throne and that He is within His creation and that the heavens and the earth compose Allah or encircle Allah, as what they are trying to say.
Faith in the Quran as revealed, uncreated speech of Allah. Part of faith in Allah and His book is faith that the Quran is the word of Allah, revealed and uncreated. It originated from Him and to Him it will return, and that Allah speaking in it is reality, and that this Quran which was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the word of Allah in reality, not the speech of anyone else. It is not permissible to claim it is an allegory of the word of Allah or an expression of it. Rather, if people read it or write in it, the scriptural copy, al-Mus'haf, that does not exclude it from being the word of Allah, the exalted in reality. For speech is only attributed in reality to whoever said it first and not to the one who later announced it or declared it. It is the speech of Allah, its letters and its meaning. The speech of Allah is not letters without meaning, nor meaning without letters.
Once again, Shaykh Al-Islām Ibn Taymiyyah repeats, from faith, from Iman, is to believe in these affairs from the unseen. So speaking about the 6 pillars of Iman, of the affairs of the unseen. And he started at the beginning of the book, from believing in Allah, is to believe in His beautiful names and attributes. So now he's continuing. From believing in Allah is to believe in what He has mentioned in His book and also what has been informed by His messenger. And to believe, and then he goes on to believing in His kitab, His book. To believe in His kitab is to believe that it's a speech of Allah and it's not created. But here Shaykh Al-Islām Ibn Taymiyyah, he indirectly refutes a group that says that it's the Quran. We don't say it's not. We don't say it's created, but we say it's an expression. We say that this wording that we're reciting, its words are created, but its meanings, it's something that is expressed from the self of Allah to something else, to an object, or when people relay it, it becomes someone else's words, no longer Allah's words. So this group, the Ash'aris, and also another group that is known as Kullabiyah, their well-known characteristics of what they differ with of the Mu'tazila is in this affair, the speech of Allah. They tell you the greatest thing that we differ with the Mu'tazila is concerning the speech of Allah. We say it's an expression, they say it's created. Same meaning. They're saying the word is created, and this one they're saying as a whole is created. And in reality, they're just affirming both the same meaning, that the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is created. And as we know, whenever we read a hadith, does the hadith become our hadith? Or it's still the hadith of the Prophet? Still the hadith of the Prophet. Us just relaying a hadith doesn't mean khalas, it becomes ascribed to us. The same thing with the Quran. When we recite it, it doesn't become our words. It's still the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are from their doubts. Pay attention. Shaykh Al-Islām Ibn Taymiyyah, he wrote a booklet refuting them from 90 angles or 90 different ways to refute this doubt. And he wrote this booklet in prison just to refute their doubts. A time of seclusion, you're free of mind to tackle the doubts. So, and they said that he refuted it in one jalsa, in one sitting. One sitting, he wrote 90 different angles how to refute this doubt that the people that say that the Quran is a mere expression, it's just a narrative, it's not the actual speech of Allah. And if it's said in Hebrew, it becomes the Torah. And if it's said in this, it becomes that. Just a changing of language just changes the book. So we'll move on, inshallah. So I'll make it easy. And some of them, as a side benefit, they used to say, كُلُّ الْكَلَامِ فِي الْوُجُودِ كَلَامُهُ. Every speech in existence is a speech of Allah. Because it is Allah that decreed for that speech to occur, so they said it's the speech of Allah. So some of them, they went to an extreme, if they heard the barking of a dog, they'll say, Subhanaka ya arhamar rahimin, to this extreme. So Allah's salam wal afiyah.
Faith that the believers will see their Lord on the day of resurrection. Included also is what we mentioned of faith in Him, His books, His angels, and His messengers, is faith that the believers will see Him on the day of resurrection with the vision of their eyes, just as they see the sun on a clear day without clouds. Just as they see the full moon at night, they will have no difficulty in seeing Him. They will see Him, glory be to Him, while in the courts of the resurrection. And they will see Him after they have entered paradise, as Allah the Exalted wills.
We took this topic already, the seeing of Allah. But as for the wording, في عرصات يوم القيامة, in the courts of Yawm al-Qiyamah, or in the open area, the open platform, what's correct and a stronger opinion that some scholars incline to is that everyone will see Allah in that time, and that in paradise will be specified to the believers. And they use the ayah هل ينظرون إلا يأتيهم الله في ظلل من الغمام. Do they await except for Allah to come to them في ظلل, in the shadows of the clouds. So this shows you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will manifest Himself to them on that surface, the open area. This is some of the proofs that they use, indicating that just as a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala identifies Himself, not as a pleasure, and it will be not a bliss for them.
Faith in everything the Prophet ﷺ reported of what occurs after death. Part of faith in the last days to have faith in everything reported by the Prophet ﷺ of what comes after death. So they believe in the trials of the grave, in the punishment of the grave and its blessings. As for the trial, people will be interrogated in their graves. It will be said to a man, who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? Allah will keep firm those who had faith in the unshakable world, in the unshakable word, in this worldly life and in the hereafter. The believer will say, my Lord is Allah, Islam is my religion, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is my prophet. As for the one who doubted, he will say, oh, I do not know. I heard people saying something, so I said it. Then he will be struck with an iron bar and he will scream. It will be heard by everything except human beings, for if they heard it, they would faint.
From believing in the 6 pillars of Iman is to believe in the last day. And from believing in the last day is to believe in the events that will occur on that day. Or even to believe in the first stages of it. They said, Al-Qabr awwal manazil al-Akhirah. Comes a narration, even though it has some weakness, but the meaning is correct, that the grave is the first stages of the hereafter. The grave, if a person is saved in that stage, whatever comes after will be easier for him. Whatever comes after will be easier for him. So, this is from believing in Yawm al-Akhir. So it contains this from the 6 pillars of Iman. The punishment of the grave or being questioned is upon us to believe in it. And we believe that it will occur, and it's something general. And even there's a proof from the Quran that indicates the Adab al-Qabr. Who can give us an ayah that shows the Adab al-Qabr? يعرضون عليها غدوا وعشيا ويوم تقوم الساعة أدخلوا آل فرعون أشد العذاب. That they will be punished morning and evening. And then when the hour is established, it will be said, enter Fir'aun, the most severest of torments. So this context, they said this is from the clearest. If it's not explicit, then it's almost explicit in showing that there is a punishment of the grave. So even though there's some other ayats they use, but it's not as clear as this one. So we have a dalil from the Quran. Those who come and deny and say that when we remove the dirt off the body, we don't see him screaming or shouting. We don't see that. So we deny it. We don't believe in it. Said this is something from the unseen, from the matters of the unseen. That's why he's believing it in the last day. It's part of the affairs of the last day. So, concerning the soul, is the punishment just on the soul or on the body as well? we say it's collectively attached to one another. The pleasure of the grave or the torment of the grave, they're on the soul and the body collectively. But the connection, it's mainly on the soul, and the body it follows. The same way that in this life, a person, when he goes to sleep, you find that his soul kind of somewhat departs from him. That's why some people, their soul is taken away from them in their sleep. It's a mini version of death. So his soul does depart from him in a partial way, they say. So you find that it's described as the soul being removed, and we see that. A person, he may see certain things, be in a certain area, and then wake up and he sees his body as it is. So the same way we believe in that, and this is something that you can relate to, why would you deny something that is from the first stages of the unseen? So these people are the people of, they claim to be intellectuals, and the people of understanding. They are those who mainly deny this. And the hadith affirms that no one will hear it, the scream and the horror of the grave, except the animals, or except the animals. But the jinn and the ins, the humans, they won't be able to hear it. And if they heard it, they will fall unconscious, or they'll swoon and faint. So this is from the affairs. And some have mentioned narrations that the Prophet ﷺ once had a mule, and he came close to the graves of the polytheists. And his mule began to react. So the Prophet ﷺ said, verily they are being punished in their graves. And it's this mule that is reacting. And even the Arabs of the past, if they wanted their camel to have a lot of milk, and it's going through a stage of not having milk, they'll frighten it. They will take it to the graves of the polytheists and put it there until some sort of noise and reaction where that animal can hear, and then a bunch of milk will be able to come out from the camel. So they said this is something experienced, that certain animals may react to the punishment of the grave. So this is from the affair. And we affirm that the punishment of the grave is for all of the people, except the prophets, and starting with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it comes in hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in Musnad Imam Ahmad, "You'll be tested about me, and your questioning will be about me." So they take from this that the Prophet will not be amongst those who are questioned in his grave. He won't be tested in his grave. And also the shuhada, the martyrs. Because they said it's sufficient, the brightness of the sword about to strike his face, that is sufficient as a fitna. كَفَى بِبَارِقَةِ السُّيُوفِ fitna. Comes in hadith. Being with that position in the path of Allah. Also, the siddiqun. If the shuhada are being exempted, then on greater preference, the siddiqun. So they mentioned this, and then we'll speak further about that. And also they mentioned that it's possible for the believer or the Muslim to be punished with his grave for a time period and then be reduced, or the punishment being stopped from her. But as for a disbeliever, the punishment continues until Yawm al-Qiyamah. So it's either a garden from the gardens of the paradise, or either a pit from the pit of the hellfire. That's all.
The greater resurrection and its horrors. Then after this trial, whether it is blessed or whether it is a punishment, the greater resurrection will be established and the souls will return to their bodies. The resurrection will be established which Allah conveyed in His book and on the tongue of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and over which the Muslims have a consensus on. People will rise from their graves in front of their Lord, barefoot, naked and uncircumcised. The sun will draw near to them and the sweat will pour over them. Then the scales will be set up that the deeds of the servants would be weighed, Thus, whoever his scale is heavy with good deeds, those are among the successful. And whoever has a scale light with good deeds, they are those who have lost their souls to abide in the hellfire.
Okay, now concerning the day, belief in the Yawm al-Akhir, to believe in the last day. To believe in the last day, the day that even the non-Muslims of our time, they refer to it as Doomsday. Doomsday, a horrendous day for them, because many of them disbelieve in it. They don't, لا يرجون إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا. They're not looking forward for that reckoning. They're not hoping that day. So they always give it titles of a bad name. So they give it that day of horror and a number of events. In reality it is. It's a day person will be in a state of silence except who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to speak. And some of the ayats it says you will only hear whispers on that day. And some said the meaning of it, hamsan, is meaning wat'ul aqdam, the footsteps of that day. There's so much of a silence, the only thing that will be heard is the footsteps of the people. And everyone will be in levels according to their deeds. Everyone will be levels according to their deeds. I'm not reading the Arabic just to suffice time. And some people, based upon how they made things the opposite, they'll be opposite in their appearance. So some people, instead of walking on their 2 feet, they'll be walking on their face. لأنه, because he made the religion, he didn't believe in the religion and he made things opposite. Well, it was to be the other side in reality. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, jaza'an wifaqa, in accordance to his disbelief, made him the opposite on that day where he walks on his face. He walks on his face and he doesn't walk on his 2 feet. Also from that events of that day is the hisab, being questioned and taken to reckoning. And the disbelievers, when they're questioned or when they're being in a state of hisab, it's just to acknowledge the justice of Allah upon them. For verily they have no good deeds. Any good deeds that they had, it was given to them in return in this life. That's the justice of Allah. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, no good deeds will remain for them. No good deeds will remain for them. And as for the opinion that they have some good deeds wait for them, but their disbelief will outweigh it, and for that reason they're unto the hellfire, that is not a correct opinion. Also, the disbelievers, they're included of the people who their deeds will be weighed. Even though they have no deeds, but the scale will be brought for them to be shown the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for the ayah, فَلَا نُقِيمُ لَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَزْنًا, we will not establish for them, the ayah in Surah Al-Anbiya, we will not establish for them any form of weighing of their deeds. This is intended similar to how the believers are weighed for their deeds. But all of them will be weighed. Because it comes in narration, a disbeliever, يُؤْتَى بِرَجُلِ السَّمِينَ الْكَافِرِ فَلَا يَزِنْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. A disbeliever will be brought and he will have no weight, not even the value or the weight of the wings of a mosquito. Meaning, because he doesn't have any value for his belief towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And disbelief will put all of his deeds, as it comes, that they will come on that day, and whatever they had will be blown. It will be as if a person, the parable that was given, person will come and his deeds or everything that he had was blown with a heavy wind on a stormy day. All of it is nothing that remains. So this is some of the parables that are given. Did you read the Sirat? Did you read the Sirat? Tafadhal.
The straight and narrow path, as-sirat, is erected over the top of hell. It is a bridge between paradise and the hellfire. People will pass over it according to the measure of their deeds. Among them are those who will pass in the blink of an eye, and among them are those who pass like a flash of lightning. Among them are those who pass like the wind, and among them are those who pass like a valiant steed.
One of the things that was mentioned as well is the hawd. I think there's prints that are a little bit one before the other. The hawd, the fountain, on the day of resurrection. For verily when they come out of their grave, they'll come out thirsty. People come out thirsty. And the Prophet ﷺ will be from their predecessors, from the first at the pond and the fountain. So it comes in narration that every prophet will have a fountain, a hawd. Comes in hadith at-Tirmidhi. But that correct opinion, the hadith is disconnected. It's a tabi'i narrating on the Prophet. That's the correct opinion. So we affirm only for the Prophet ﷺ a hawd. And if there is other hawd, there's other fountains, then we say the greatest of those fountains is the Prophet's fountain. And it's from its description, its water is more whiter than milk, and its taste is more sweeter than honey, and its coolness is cooler than ice. These are from the description. And they said its description is as a square, because it has corners. And the width and the length is a month's journey. And its utensils is the number of stars that a person can see. That's the utensils and the vessels that a person can drink from. And whoever drinks from it will never be thirsty again. But the question arises, why do the people drink in paradise? This comes in the hadith, people drink in paradise. The scholars say that is taladdud. They drink out of enjoyment, not out of thirst. There's no thirst in paradise. Person drinks out of enjoyment. So this is from the meaning. And also it comes that some people will be driven away from this pond or this fountain. And from them are those who are referred to as the muhdithun, the innovators, those who turned away from the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. They didn't follow him in his guidance, so because they didn't take the Prophet ﷺ as their Salaf. The hadith says, وَأَنَا فَرَطُكُمْ عَلَى الْحَوْضِ, I'm your predecessor. They didn't take the Prophet ﷺ as their predecessors. For that reason, they'll be deprived from drinking from that fountain. So, the scary part that some of them said, these are the people of desires and extreme and turning away from the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. And some said the meaning of it is those who apostated from his guidance. Apostated meaning left Islam. Left Islam. And also comes some narrations that certain sinners will also be deprived. Certain rulers, comes in some hadith. So yes, it's possible for certain people to be deprived from that fountain. We also took the scale, and we'll almost end on that. Sirat. But really it is the fountain before the mizan, the weighing of the deeds. Then after that, it is the people going on the bridge, a bridge over the hellfire. Over the hellfire, and on each side of it, there's hooks from metal, sharp hooks, resembling thorns that are in the time of the Prophet ﷺ that he described as the most severest of thorns. So people will be on this bridge that is thinner than a piece of hair, sharper than a sword, I believe, Hadith Abi Sa'id. It's thinner than a piece of hair and sharper than a sword, and people will be walking over it. According to your istiqamah on the sirat al-mustaqim in this life, according to your uprightness in this life on the sirat, you'll be granted success to walk over this sirat and the next life with success. And according to your deeds, some will be like a wind, some will be like lightning, some will be walking, some of them will be crawling, and some of them will be dragged, and some of them will be taken by wounds from the sides of the hooks and eventually arrive. And others will be thrown into the hellfire, wa'iyadhu billah. All of this is the sirat. We believe in it. Some said that its distance of this bridge over the hellfire is a month's journey. A month's journey that a person, according to the success of Allah, Allah will make it easy for you to go over in a short span. So this is the sirat that is mentioned. And some people will be able to go over this bridge with light, nur from Allah. And they are the believers. And each person differs with his nur, the light that he has been granted. So some of the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, as comes in Surah Hadid, they will ask the believers to give us some of your light. And they'll say, return from where you came from. So it's a rebuking statement. And then after that, is there anything left? We'll read 2 words or a couple of words, inshallah, and then we'll end. So forgive us.
Among them are those who pass as if they were riding a camel, and among them are those who running quickly or walking quickly or crawling slowly. Among them are those who are caught and thrown into the hellfire, for over the bridge are hooks to catch people according to their deeds. Whoever passes over the narrow path will enter paradise. When they have traversed it, they will stop over an arch between paradise and hellfire, where they will settle any disputes between each of them, or between each other. When they are polished and cleansed, they will be given permission to enter paradise.
The last stage, after this bridge it's over the hellfire and it leads for the paradise. So once you get over this bridge of the sirat, there's something else waiting before you can enter the paradise. It is the stage of being cleansed of any type of oppression and wrongdoing that you did to anyone in this life. Everyone has to get his right before they enter paradise. So there's no hatred or malice left in the hearts. They enter ala sururin mutaqabilin, on thrones facing each other, ikhwanan, ala sururin mutaqabilin, brothers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it a right upon himself that no one enters Jannah and there's someone else seeking a right or a wrongdoing that he was oppressed regarding. So it is that time. And they even said, even if a person did 1,000 hajjah, even if he did 1,000 hajjs, he will not be able to enter paradise until he is cleansed from that wrongdoing that he did. Wallah, it's serious. It's a matter, it's madlama. They said, free yourself now before that day. Before that day. And on that stage, many of the people will say, nafsi, nafsi, myself. And there then they will flee from each other. No one wants to give his good deeds to the other. No one wants to give his good deeds to the other. Even the righteous who have abundance of good deeds, they're fleeing from the other. The ayat about يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ is concerning sometimes some of the people that have hasanat, he's fleeing with his good deeds. He doesn't even want to give his good deeds. He wants higher levels in paradise. So the statements of the prophets is nafsi, nafsi, myself, myself. So in that time, there's no one going to pardon you. No one going to overlook oppression that was done and say, sorry, you can have that, so let's all enter paradise. La, he wants some good deeds of yours so he can enter in a higher level. This is the state, because everyone on that day is worried about himself. And then after that, it comes the wording that the Prophet ﷺ will be the first to open the door of paradise, and he will be the first, his and his nation, to enter paradise. And from the first to enter paradise of his nation is the fuqara, the poor. 500 years before who? The rich. And who will be the first as an individual to enter paradise after the Prophet from the Ummah? We'll end with this, inshallah. We'll say, Subhanakallah, bihamdik, whoever answers. Huh? Abu Bakr, Subhanakallah, bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Barakallahu feekum. If anyone can make adhan for us, inshallah.